guys, I'm Sheri with Sprinkling Joy Creations, and today I want to show you how to make this lantern out of all Dollar Tree supplies. This is the lantern that I made for my mom for Christmas, and I apologize, I wanted to have the real lantern, but I wasn't able to make it over there to get it. So this is my first YouTube video, and I'm excited to jump into the adventurous world of YouTube tutorials with you guys. Most of you I've connected with over Facebook Dollar Tree sites, so I'm super excited that my first subscribers are going to be my fellow Dollar Tree shoppers. So if you would click that subscribe button, and there should be a joy icon in the lower right hand corner. You can also click that to subscribe to my channel at any time during the video, and give it a like and a thumbs up if you would. A couple things I wanted to make note of real fast before we get started is, one, I got my new tablet mount in and it doesn't go as high as what I thought it was going to. So whenever I stand up to start working on the lantern, I'm actually going to be out of the screen for most of it. So not really too big of a deal. The second thing is I wanted to have my tablet turned around where I could actually see the screen and make sure I had everything in the screen. So the resolution is going to be a little bit lower also. So couple things that I can work on later, but so I guess that's it for now. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we'll do is go over the supplies. You need these frames from Dollar Tree, or you could probably find some other kind of frame. This is the tag on the back of them. Some of them say relax, some say dream. There's just a few different sayings on them, so you'll need those. You'll need just however many picture frames that you want to layer to make the top of it. And then I also use a canvas that I put in my 5x7 frame. That just helps me a little bit. That's not something you have to do. An 8x10 canvas from the Dollar Tree. And then I got these 9x12 canvases from Walmart because I'm thinking that if you didn't want to use one of these for the base of the lantern, you could probably get away with using one of these. So we're going to try that. I'm not sure on that. You'll need your Jenga blocks to fill in all your gaps. This little bowl for the top of the lantern. This comes in a pack of 4 at Dollar Tree. You'll need your paint and paintbrush. This is Waverly brand white chalk paint. This is actually from Walmart. And then I've seen on Facebook these little people using these little makeup sponges from the Dollar Tree to dab on your paint. And that actually works pretty good if you want the textured look. I didn't really care for the textured look, so I didn't use these, but that's totally up to you. Also, you will need your painter's tape, sandpaper, or a sanding block, rough texture preferably, and that's for your Jenga pieces. If you don't get them cut to the exact right size, you can file them down with that. Some sort of foam to set your nativity scene on, so any kind of foam would work. I actually used this for the top of my lantern. This is one of the Dollar Tree bells, and it had a little ring on the top of it, and I just took that ring off, and that's what I used for the hanger for my lantern. Gorrila Glue or E6000 glue. And then also you will need a hot glue gun. And this is just a scraper from the Dollar Tree, and this is what I use to put my hot glue gun on. It works really good. So I'm sure there probably is going to be more supplies as I get going and going through this video. So if there is, I will let you know as we go. So I would recommend putting it together before you actually put it together. And what I mean by that is to just start placing it together and building it without gluing it together or painting it or anything, just so you can get an idea in your mind of what it's supposed to look like and any changes you might want to make. That's where you just start getting a vision and getting ideas for how you might want to make it different than mine, things you could do to it. So to do that, we'll start out by just using some tape, and I don't think I put that on the description, but any kind of tape, even just like wrapping paper tape will be fine. So you'll just start out by taking your frames, and you'll want to make sure that they're all facing the right way. You want the, obviously the inside of the frames to the inside. And you'll just start placing them together and just putting a piece of tape on them just to temporarily hold it in place. And you'll just go around the whole entire thing and do that. Now when you're putting this together, you'll have your front and back. You want your sides to go on the outside of your front and your back. So your front and back will be on the inside of your side pieces. And when you're doing this part, it is not going to be perfect. It's not going to look perfect. You're going to have your bottoms here that are going to come apart. I mean, that's just part of it. That's why it's just temporary, just for you to kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. Get these last two pieces taped together. And this tape isn't going to leave enough of a residue on here to hurt anything. So there you have that, and that'll be the body of your lantern. And then you can make a decision here if you want to use another one of these frames. You can do that. Just set it down on there so you can kind of look at it. You can use that, or this is where I said that we might try this 9x12 canvas also. You could try that. So let's take it off of that and put it onto the canvas and see. That might be an option. It would be an easier option for sure than using the picture frame. That actually doesn't look too bad. And then you would start layering your picture frames, just however many picture frames you want. And I put the 8x10 canvas on first, and then layered my picture frames on top of that. And then this is the last picture frame. This is the little bowl which will go inside this last picture frame. And that'll be for the top. And then you'll have some kind of ring that you'll put on the top for your hanger. So, I mean, there you get an idea of what you're starting out with. So the next thing you're going to want to do, and I forgot to mention this in the list of supplies, is nail polish remover, 100% acetone. So you're going to want to take everything apart, obviously, get out your frames that have the writing on them, and on the back side is where you can feel these letters. They kind of stick up. You're going to want to get a cotton ball or a paper towel or just whatever you have with your 100% acetone, and you can get this from Dollar Tree. Get a good amount on it, and you can see that this stuff just wipes right off. I mean, it just comes right off really easily. Now, when I made mine, I didn't know about this, and so I used alcohol and scraped it all off, and it was a much bigger process. And you are going to get some on your finger, so you could wear gloves if that bothers you. Get a little bit more on there just to get this excess off of here. So after you get all of your letters off of all of the pieces of your frames, then you're going to want to paint. So in order to do that, you're going to need to get out your painter's tape. And what you're going to want to do is do not glue, you don't have to glue your painter's tape. What you're going to want to do is just place your painter's tape on the glass. You're trying to keep from getting paint on the glass. So you want to do that all the way around the inside of your glass and all the way around the outside of your frame on the glass as well. So do that for all of your pieces. And when you start painting, don't worry too much if you do happen to get a little bit on the glass, or even after you pull your painter's tape off after it's dried. If there's some on the glass, it's not a big deal. You can just scrape that right off with a scraper, or even take that acetone and get it off that way. So that's not a big deal. What I would recommend is while you're painting your frames, you might as well go ahead and paint your Jenga pieces too. And you're going to need a total of 32 Jenga pieces. So what you'll be doing with those Jenga pieces is just taking them and laying them up the edge of your side panels to the body of your lantern. You'll have 6 on each side. You'll have 5 that will fit perfectly, and then the 6th one you'll have to cut. You'll have to cut it to fit. And this is where your sandpaper will come in handy. If you don't get it cut exactly right, if it's a little too long, and it would be better for it to be a little bit too long than it would to be too short, then you'll just take that sandpaper, that real coarse sandpaper, and just rub it on that sandpaper, and it'll file it down till eventually it will fit. It ends up to be a lot of work actually, but that's how I did it. Now, if you had a cutting tool, then of course that would make it easier, like some sort of saw. That would make it a lot easier. So I glued some of these together so that I could show you. I glued 5 of them. I did not cut the 6th one, so I just wanted to be able to show you what you would do with them. For one, after you get these glued together, and you'll have 4 sets of these, because you'll have 2 per frame, you'll want to figure out which side is going to be showing when you look at it in the lantern. It'll be one of these little sides. And you either want to try to put hot glue, some sort of glue on these seams, because you can see that you'll be able to see the individual seams. So you'll either want to try to put some kind of glue on there and then paint over that to eliminate the showing of the seams, or what I did was I just took layers and layers of paint. I just kept putting layers of chalk paint on it until it looked like there was no seams on it. So, and you'll actually want to do that for one of the front sides as well. But you can technically do the front side after you get it glued on, because that's the next step. We'll be gluing these pieces, and again there will be another one on here to fill this gap, but I don't have that one. But I wanted to show you, I'm going to turn it this way so you can actually see. When you go to glue it, this is with it setting flat down on the glass, and you can see that there is a little lip still here, and you probably would not notice that too much whenever you are looking at it from the front view, but you would notice it because it'll make a space. So what I did was I just glued this flush with the top of this frame here, where there is no lip at all. It is completely level at the top. Instead of setting it down flat on the glass, you just pick it up a little bit and glue it to where it's completely level. And it's hard to show you, but it'll be completely level and flush with this frame right here. And you'll do that with this side, and the same on your other side panel of your frame. So once you get those glued in, you'll have this inside piece is where you will have already painted with layers of paint. You'll want to do that same thing with this top piece. You'll want to layer layers and layers of paint until you won't be able to see these seams anymore. And like I said, it's going to be flush with the side of this frame, so it'll also take where you can see the seam right here. If you just keep adding layers and layers of paint on this, it'll take that seam away too, and it'll make it look like it's one solid piece as well. So just keep adding layers and layers of paint until you get it to where it looks seamless is what you're going for. And I wanted to just show you real quickly what it is you're going to be doing with these. It'll be easier to show you. Now this will be one of your side panels of your lantern. and it's going in this space right here. So you see what it's gonna, there's kind of a glare on it, but you can kind of see that that's what it's gonna look like. And again, you won't be able to see those seams because you will have painted over that. So it'll be one right here, and then you'll have one on this side, and then you'd have your frame. I don't have this frame attached, but you would also do it to the frames on this side. And those will be painted white, so they'll kind of just blend in with this side here. So once you're done with gluing those pieces in and adding your layers of paint to make them look seamless, then I would recommend going back over the inside of your glass with Windex and just giving it one more good cleaning, because this is where you're going to start gluing it together, and that's going to be one of your last opportunities to be able to clean the inside of your glass, and you want to make sure you got all of your fingerprints and all that stuff off of it. Now here's where I would caution you. Let me throw these bingo blocks out of here. When you're ready to start gluing your body together, make sure you have plenty of time, because you don't want to glue these two pieces together and then think that you're going to leave it and come back later and start gluing it together again. You don't want to do that. You would think that because these are completely flat, that it would just glue together and be perfectly square, but it's not going to be. So if you glue these two pieces together and have to go do something and come back the next day and glue the rest of it together, you're not going to be able to get it squared up because your glue's already going to have set. So you want to make sure that you have time to glue the whole entire body together whenever you're ready to start. So whenever you are ready, you're going to use your E6000 or your Gorrila Glue. I don't hardly use hot glue for anything. I'm not a fan of hot glue. For one, if you're going to store this in a storage building, it's going to get over 100 degrees in that storage building, and hot glue will melt. So I don't really care for hot glue. So I would use E6000 or Gorrila Glue is the two best ones, I think. So when you start gluing these together, of course you want to make sure your frames are all facing the right way, the insides to the insides and the outsides to the outsides. But this little piece right here is all that you're going to need to glue. Down the length of this, and just a little ways up on these sides here. Just enough to the width of this. Because you're going to be putting them together like this. You'll glue them together like this and get them to where you feel like they're as even as possible. And then just hold them there for a few minutes. They need to set for a few minutes, but not too long, because you want to be able to move it around without it falling over. So just hold it for a couple minutes and then move on to the next side. And then of course that would be, I would just turn it like this, and then I would put this piece on. Just do the same thing, glue along this edge here, and then add this side to it, the same as you did with the last one, and that would give you this with these two sides, and then you would just glue your other piece on. So then you would have something that looks similar to this, and of course I went back to the lantern that I already had taped together, but this is basically what you would have after you did that, was a piece across here and then these two setting up here. Okay, so you would just want to set this one right on top of this. Oh, and see what I did right there? I didn't make sure that I had the right side. So this is the inside and I had it to the outside. So you want to make sure that you have it the right way. That's how easy it is to make that mistake. So you would just glue then that piece to that piece, and then you'd have your lantern base would be all put together. So that is one step down. So after you get the body of your lantern all glued together and put together, then you need to start thinking about your top and how you want to stagger your picture frames. How many you want to use. You can layer it as big as you want it to be. This is just what I what I liked. I did the 8x10 canvas, and then I did this gold 5x7 Dollar Tree frame, and then I put a 5x7 canvas in here. And the reason for that, and it's totally just something that I wanted to do, was so that when I put this other 5x7 frame on there, it just set down on there. I didn't have to worry about really centering it. It just went right to where it was supposed to go. So that's why I put that other canvas in there. And then I got to look at it, I thought, oh my gosh, look how pretty that is. That would be so pretty just to set up as a picture frame. It is beautiful. But then that would go on top of that. And then this little bowl would go in here. And then this piece would sit on top of there. Now that was how I did mine. Of course, you'd want to make sure you got that centered. And once you get it figured out how you want to layer it, then you're going to want to go back and figure out which pieces you want to paint and which pieces you might want to just leave. This gold glitter frame, I just left that because I thought it was pretty. And then the silver frame, I painted it white. And then, of course, your bowl, you want to paint it white. And then this, I believe I painted the top of it white, but and the outside of it I left this gold color. But I also painted the inside of it just because you can see part of that. So once you get all of it painted, whatever colors you want, and it dries, then you got to go through the process of putting it together. Oh, and you want to also, and I got out this shower ring because like I said, I didn't have another one of the bell rings that I showed you that I used. This right here, it had a bigger loop thing on it, and I liked it better than this little shower ring, so I used that. So I would rather have the larger size ring. But for this purpose, of course, you would want to paint this the white color as well. And what I did was I took a pipe cleaner and just wrapped it around. I think I actually took 2 pipe cleaners. I did one for each side. And I just kind of wrapped it around and twisted it off at the bottom here. And I did that on both sides of this because once you get your bow on, you're not going to see this anyway, the bottom of this. So it's really not going to matter if you know, what this looks like. So let me get another pipe cleaner real fast. So you would do that to where you would have 2 of these coming down. Trying to get it on there and get it tight. You want it to be pretty tight because you wouldn't want it moving around. And I would even probably put, this is where your hot glue would come in. I probably would want to put a little bit of hot glue on those to make sure that they don't move anymore. Okay, what I did for this process, now mind you, you'll have all this stuff painted. This is plastic. So what I decided to do was take my hot glue gun. Since this is plastic, it will melt. So what I did was I took my hot glue gun, I measured exactly the center, like how far apart these little guys are. And I made my holes centered, exactly 2 holes on this. So you just take your hot glue gun and just hold it on there. Wherever you want your hole to be, you just hold it on there until it goes through. It'll melt through, and then you just hold it on the other side until it melts through. And it doesn't take very long, believe it or not. So then you would have 2 holes on these. So you would run your pipe cleaners down through those holes. And then you would also have to make holes. You'd have to find out where your, kind of where your center is on this. And you would make your holes centered however far apart they were on here. You do the same thing on here. Through this canvas, you make 2 holes. And then on down through this hard canvas. Now this is just like a paper canvas on this, but this is a hard cardboard canvas. And you'd want to make 2 holes exactly in the center on this as well. And what I used for that, I just took a screwdriver and a screw and just started screwing it into it. And it actually worked really good. Now, after you get all of your holes made, then you would want to start gluing all of these frames to each other. Of course, you would want to glue the gold one to the white canvas, and you'd want to glue the silver one to the gold one. And then before you glue this one, and you don't have to glue this bowl because this bowl is bigger than this picture frame, so it's not going anywhere. So you wouldn't have to glue the bowl to anything. But what I would do before you glue this picture frame down is I would take this piece, this ring, and put it down through the holes, put it down through the holes through this canvas, and put it down through the holes through the bottom canvas. At least get it started. You might have to add another pipe cleaner to each side to make it long enough, at least just for this process, because you want it to be coming through that bottom before you glue this piece on. So you would have your pipe cleaners coming through your bottom, and then you could kind of hopefully just raise it up just a little bit, just enough to get just a little bit of glue underneath this bottom. And honestly, you could probably get away without gluing it at all, but I would just prefer for it to at least just, you know, raise up a side and just put a little bit of glue. And you probably would have to use your E6000 on that because your hot glue is going to set too fast. So if you raise one side up and glue that and stick it down, you know, it's going to set too fast and you're not going to be able to raise it up to get the other sides glued. So once you get that glued down and everything is glued and set, then you would turn it over and you would have these things would be sticking out of this side, and you could just, you know, kind of tie them off or swirl them or just twist them off, and even add a little bit of hot glue or E6000 glue or Gorrila Glue onto them just to make sure that they stick, and that way this is solid together. It's not going to come apart. So then, after you've got your top put together, you need to decide if you want your top to be removable or if you want your bottom to be removable. How I did it was I made my top to where it would come off, because I knew my mom was going to be setting her lantern up high, and it was going to be hard for her to lift the whole height of this lantern up off of the nativity scene. So I thought it would just be better for her to be able just to take the top off of it and reach down in and get the nativity and pull it out and turn it on and set it back down in there. To me, that was just easier. But so you could either do that, or you could make this top where it's not removable. Just glue this down and then make your bottom to where, you know, you could just lift the whole thing up off of your bottom. So after you get your body and your top done, then you would start thinking about your base. So you would either use this flat base like we looked at, and just look similar to this, or if you wanted to use one of these frames as your base, and that's what I did, it would look like this. Now this is where your Jenga pieces come in, your other Jenga pieces that you painted earlier. It's because you can see that you've got 2 big gaps right here on either side of this. So what you would have to do, if you decide to go with a frame as the base, is you would have to take your Jenga blocks and you'd have to layer them in here just like you did on your sides of your lantern. And again, it's going to be the same as it was there. You're going to have 3 that fit perfectly, and then you're going to have 1 that you either have to cut. You could almost do that, but not quite. So yeah, you'd have to cut one of them to make it work in there. And the same on this side, you'd want to do that. And then you can see that you would just put your lantern back on there, and then that would cover That would cover that space up to where you wouldn't be able to see that. And you would do the same exact thing. Let me take this back off of here. You would do the same exact thing that you did with your sides, with the pieces that you glued together. These seams, you know, you can see these seams, and you can see the seam right along here as well. So if you just keep layering paint, just keep painting over this and over it, it'll get to where you will not be able to see the individual pieces of the Jenga, and you won't be able to see this line where they sit up against this either. It'll just look like one flush piece. It takes several layers of paint, but it does actually work. So that's what you do if you decide to use this for your base, or if you decide to do this canvas, I mean, you would just sit it on there and just glue it down on it. This is where your pieces of your foam would come in. Initially when I made mine, I used these foam blocks, and they were too tall, so I had to cut them in half, and it was a chore. I mean, it was actually more work than what I thought it was going to be, and it's so hard to get them cut even, and it was just next to impossible, really. So, I mean, I got it to work, but it took a lot of extra work. These here are separated. They come in little separate pieces, and they're about the right height, so they worked perfectly. I didn't discover these until after I'd already made mine, but these are the perfect size, the perfect height, and then they already come in little pieces, so that just makes it a lot easier. So what you would have to do is take 4 sections of this, and then you'll have to kind of measure the top of your, you know, this space here is basically what you're going to be needing to measure. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that I had to cut these 2 little pieces. I think it was 3/4 of an inch, if I'm not mistaken, is the size that I had to cut those. So 4 sections, and then cut 2 of them at 3/4 of an inch. And then you're going to glue these together, and you're going to want to paint them white. So after you get these all painted and glued together and painted, then you're going to want to put glitter on them. And I forgot to put that in the description, but I did use this glitter. What I did was, while the paint was still wet on it, I put some glitter on it and kind of waited for it to dry pretty good. And then I took some clear spray sealer and sprayed on it, and while it was still wet, I dumped more glitter on it. And it's kind of a process. You got to do like part of it at a time, side at a time, and wait for it to kind of dry a little bit, and just dump it on there while it's wet, and kind of pat it down, and then shake off the excess of it until you get it to where it's all covered. And you just keep doing that until you get it completely covered. And once you get it all painted and glued together and all your glitter on, and it's all dry and everything, then you would just, if you're wanting to glue down your bottom and make your top removable, then you would just, you know, put glue on your bottom part there, E6000 or Gorrila Glue, and then you would just set it down on your base and get it as even as you can get it, and then just kind of let it set for a little bit until you got it where you want it, and let it dry. Then you would just place your nativity or whatever it is that you're wanting to put in here. And then your top on it. And of course, you know, your ring would be on top of here. And you would have a bow, that big bow on the top also. So I'm not going to make the bow today because I feel like this video has been really long, but if you would like to see how to make the bow, then just leave me a comment in the section below. There's a comments section, and you just leave a comment there and let me know if you'd like to see how to make the bow, and we can do a YouTube tutorial on that. And if you would, again, if you like this video at all, and again, it was my first video, But if you want to see, future videos that I might add to YouTube, then just like my channel and subscribe to it. And every subscriber that I get unlocks different things that I can do in YouTube. So the more subscribers you get, the more stuff you can do with your videos. So it just kind of helps people's channel when you subscribe. But anyway, for now, I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks again for watching. See you next time.